Hey, what's going on, everybody? Andrew Dawson here. Today, I want to share with you 6 ways you can get involved with Operation for Freedom, hands-on, in the trenches, in our work in human trafficking. Here we go. Okay, so we've had a lot of people ask us in the past and recently on how they can get involved in the fight against human trafficking. So today, I want to share with you 6 ways that you can get involved in human trafficking with our organization and the work we do to impact this cause. But first, I want to share with you a little bit about our mission and our objective as an organization. A lot of times people just know that we work in human trafficking, my wife and I, or the team that we get to work with, but they really don't know what our organization is about. And so today, I just wanted to take a couple moments and share with you about what we do, how we fight trafficking, and our objectives and mission. And so if you look at our website, operationforfreedom.org, and I'll throw that website and more links and emails into the description at the end of this video. You can check those out. But our mission and objective is to find the vulnerable and offer hope. Now, when we jumped into this work, it was almost a decade ago now, we really had no idea what we were doing. And we began to see a common thread in all of the casework that we were doing. And it came down to that one word, vulnerability. And that is a key piece of our mission and objective. And we always say this: if we can prevent your child or a child from being trafficked or sexually exploited or abused, that's so much better than rescue. And actually around our crew, the word rescue really isn't we try not to use it that much because rescue is such a long process. It's not a one-time event, but it's an actual process that takes many years once a survivor's pulled off the street. But back to that first point, though, we would rather prevent trafficking from ever happening than to have to go in and pull some survivor off the street or some child out of a situation of abuse and exploitation after the fact. And so we find the vulnerable and offer hope. And here's the key: if we can eliminate vulnerability, then we can prevent trafficking long term. And one of the things we've got to look at, you come to these walls after years of being in this field. At first, there's just this huge learning curve of learning about the issue, and then you try to do as much as you can, and you hit these walls because it's such hard work. And we've really taken some time to step back and have a deeper perspective and a wider perspective of the issue. And if we want to do this long term, our heart and goal is to have a long-term approach to impacting trafficking. And so that comes down to eliminating vulnerability to eliminate trafficking from ever happening in the first place. And that's a little bit about our mission. We really center around a few pillars of work specifically. So this is more practically how we work in trafficking, and I want to share those practical pillars with you that we focus on. And one of those is our work centers around outreach on the street. And so this is direct outreach to prostituted women on tracks, in hotels, on the streets. This is direct connection. Through our team and advocates, we literally go out on the streets and connect with these girls and build relationship with them in the life in a very strategic way, and then offer them hope out of the life. That's our objective, is to find the vulnerable, offer hope. And so we offer hope of a new life. And one of the things we've learned is that they don't always accept that hope and help out of the life. It's a complex situation they're in. And so our consistency and offering hope and resources and help out of the life is key. And then there are those moments where we see a girl say, yeah, I want out of the life. Maybe she's pregnant and she doesn't want this life for her baby. She wants off drugs and wants to go through rehabilitation because she's just recently become pregnant. And so we're able to step in and offer her those resources. Now, we don't have an aftercare home. We don't offer long-term counseling, but this pillar specifically focuses on direct outreach to those victims on the street. Another pillar is investigation. And we kind of fell into this by default. It wasn't something we really chose. We've been working in the field. Operation for Freedom has been around a while now, and A lot of this is trial and error and just getting into the field, learning, being survivor informed, listening to survivors and listening to families. And we've had so many families in crisis situations come to us and ask us to step in and help them in really bad times in their family. Either that's a runaway kid or a daughter who's been groomed online, who's in a relationship with a pimp or a boyfriend who's exploiting her. And so by default, we've kind of fallen into, I hate the term, but a private investigation. And so that's one of our pillars now is we have dozens and dozens of families who reach out to us throughout the year and say, hey, can you help me? And so we're able to step in, develop actionable intelligence, develop intel, work through these situations with the families, and then connect with law enforcement and say, hey, this is what we found. Sometimes that leads to child pornographers getting arrested. Sometimes that leads to traffickers getting arrested. Sometimes that leads to simply counseling the family, getting their family member back to a safe place and back with them through this crisis situation. That's pillar number 2. Pillar number 3 is this involves volunteers who serve with us. We began to see a long time ago that just normal people, not special forces people or people in law enforcement who really have a specific skill set to work in this field, which is amazing in itself, or trauma-informed counselors or nurses in the medical field who have a specific skill set to do some incredible work, which we work with those people on a regular basis, and we have those people on our team. We begin to see a need for your average individual without a skill set who said, hey, I want to do something about this. And so we really begin to develop an area of work around urban canvassing. And that's just a fancy term for flyering and working in missing kid searches. And so a lot of times throughout the year, we have these events where we will gather together multiple volunteers into one area, and we will go and search for specific missing kids, partnering with law enforcement and organizations like DFS or Family Services to locate kids who are being missing, who have been gone missing. And that involves us going on the streets, door to door, really stirring the pot in communities specific to where we think these kids are. And we've seen literally dozens and dozens and dozens of kids located through this effort. And so that's one of our pillars, is plugging in individuals into this work in a very easy way to get started, but also an effective way to help bring families back together. Last pillar is vulnerable neighborhoods. And this has been something that's developed out of a heart to reach people before trafficking starts, to educate families, to serve communities in a real way. If you hang around us long enough, you're going to find out that we are very tangible. We want to do the tangible. We want to do things that are seen and we can, take a picture of and tell a story about and be able to really help someone. Like, it's not an ethereal thing. It's not a wishful thinking thing. It's not a grand vision that never happens. But a lot of times in this specific outreach, it's a small thing that makes a big difference. And so we have adopted multiple high-risk communities that we've felt like need support, and we go in with volunteers in our team to offer that support. That could be things like dealing with food insecurity, or working with families and educating them on the awareness and knowledge of grooming. A lot of these communities are drug-ridden, high prostitution. We literally will go in and serve their kids and their family, put on your typical what you would think an outreach looks like, where there's bounce houses and food and resources for families. One young lady I talked to a few weeks ago on one of these outreaches, she said she hasn't had food in her apartment for 3 or 4 days, and she was waiting for payday to get food. And so we were able to provide her with a month's worth of meals and stock her fridge and help her out in a real way that eliminates vulnerability, so she doesn't have to go do something or can't be put in a vulnerable place to be exploited. So that's our 4 pillars. Number 1 is direct outreach to women who are already prostituted on the streets. And we do this in numerous ways. A lot of the ways we can't put out publicly because we don't want that getting around and being exposed on the street, but we reach out directly to prostituted women. We're involved in investigation, helping families in crisis situations where their family members have gone missing or they're in an exploitive situation, urban canvassing or missing kid searches, going out into neighborhoods, finding missing kids, and including volunteers in that. And then last, vulnerable neighborhoods, adopting these neighborhoods with an underlying objective and mission to eliminate trafficking and exploitation in those areas. So that's kind of in a nutshell our work. I want to share with you, though, 6 ways you can get involved with us. Now, there's a lot of ways you can get involved in trafficking in your community, and I suggest sticking around and seeing those videos we have coming up on how to do that. But this video specifically is for how do you get involved in our organization and make an impact with us. And so number 1 is probably the most intense way to get involved and the most investment involved, and that's coming on a short-term serve trip. We host numerous trips every year with community groups, task forces, churches come on trips, and college teams come on trips. It doesn't matter who you are, what your group is. You can come as an individual on a trip that's already planned or bring a group. We have a minimum amount of people we need you to bring, but you can come on a serve trip, and it's a 5-day trip where we educate you on trafficking, we teach you how to reach out to victims, and then we go out on the streets and we actually do this work through those 4 pillars throughout this trip. It's an incredible experience. You walk away with confidence, your eyes are opened, and there's a sense of, I can do this. There's a ripple effect after you leave. I can do this in my community. So that's number 1, is a short-term serve trip to Las Vegas. Number 2 is this: plan an educational event in your community. We have some incredible trainers, speakers, and people on our team, advocates, counselors, people who know what they're talking about, who have been in this work. And it's a great way to stay in your hometown and to connect with us. All it takes is send an email and say, hey, how do we do this? And plan an educational event in your community. It could be Trafficking 101, like what does trafficking look like, where we can come in and do a demographic study of your community, find out where the high-risk areas are, and help you put together a plan, as well as educate your community on trafficking to kind of get the ball rolling. We're stirring the pot. We're bringing in community NGOs and local law enforcement and people together to say, hey, let's do something about this. That's an easy way to stay in your hometown and do something specific in your area. So planning an educational event in your community, or booking a speaker to come in and our team to come in and do something right there in your city, whether it's rural or metropolitan. Number 3 is this. We work with, this isn't a Operation for Freedom organization. We work with them. We partner and collaborate with them in a real way. Myself, I'm personally a speaker with them and a trainer, but it's called the Say Something School Assembly Program. And with the Say Something School Assembly Program, we have gone into literally hundreds of schools around the nation. We've spoken to almost, I think we're at 500,000 junior high and high school students face-to-face, where we come in with a production team, screens, music. It's a fun event. It's a school assembly, and there's a survivor leader who speaks and shares her story. And we hit 3 topics: bullying, suicide, and exploitation. And we share the red flags and how to make an impact in your school, peer-to-peer, how to stand up, say something. We also educate teachers within that program as well. And this is a powerful event. It's tough to get booked. If you're an influencer or someone in your community who can bring in influencers to get this booked, there is a cost to it because it's a big production, but it's a powerful production. And every year we see multiple, I'm talking maybe last year in the 20s, prosecuted trafficking cases and exploitation cases that were pulled out of junior highs and high schools in a very real way. And it's a very respectful way, and it's an appropriate way. It's not a edgy, off the charts, controversial school assembly. It's something that is of value to your school district. So if you're interested in that, I'll put information down below. Number 4 is this. This is really simple. Buy merch. Go on our website and go to operationforfreedom.org. Buy a hoodie like this or a cap like this. Wear it in your community and raise awareness. When people ask, why are you wearing that black hoodie with a link on there, you can begin to share and say, hey, I'm involved in an anti-trafficking organization, and this is their merch, so that would help us out a lot. All the proceeds and profit go to help survivors. So, for instance, there's a survivor we're working with who she's about to have a baby. She's in a safe home, who we were a part of her intervention. All those funds are going to purchase supplies for her baby shower recently. And so, if you're purchasing our merch, you're changing lives, you're participating in providing freedom and restoration to trafficking survivors. Number 5 is this: do a fundraiser. Now, this can be totally your idea, something you do in your community, or it can be as simple as a Facebook fundraiser. That's where you set up a Facebook fundraiser, raise awareness online through social media. You're sharing our post and you raise money that way. All the money then goes to our work in human trafficking. Or you can set up an event in your community, like a gala or an auction or an event at a community center where we come into town and we communicate back and forth and set this up and do a golf tournament, something like that. But you can do a massive amount of work by simply raising funds for our organization and the work that we do. Here's number 6. It's a simple one. Share these videos. We are in the process of creating multiple videos that educate families, help resource community groups, help resource churches, and bring awareness to trafficking, as well as help people get involved in a real way. And so you can share these videos. That's number 6. Share these videos, share our posts on social media to raise awareness, help us build this platform, not in an egotistical way, but in a way that helps us to help victims, because that's our mission and that's our objective. So I'll have all these links and emails of people you can connect with to make this happen in the description below. That's how you get involved in our organization in a very simple way, very quick, 6 ways. And we hope that you do. We hope that you get involved, because that's our mission. We need more people. We need more individuals who are passionate about this work to dive in their communities and say, hey, I'm going to be an influencer. I'm going to make a difference in the fight against human trafficking. That's it, guys. Hope to see you next time.